Yep, I saw those RTX 5090 Ti rumors last week, and honestly, I initially didn't take them that seriously. And that's for a few reasons. First of all, I just don't know how seriously we should take any rumors about new GPU launches in 2026 ever. I mean, I've already been burned twice in the past year. I'm on the 9080 XT engineering sample leak, on the RTX 50 Super leaks. Neither of those have come out. In fact, there's still no evidence that either are ever coming out to this day. They might, but it is sad that there's still no evidence out there. None of my sources that work at these companies say that anything's moving closer to a launch. I haven't seen any other leakers online post pictures of these products proving that they exist. And just in general, AIBs I reach out to say they see no information coming from Nvidia or AMD that anything new's coming for the foreseeable future. And so during this RAM shortage, I just don't know how much it makes sense to leak what's going on behind the scenes sometimes if it seems like even things that are real aren't coming out in this market of RAM shortages. Now, the second reason I didn't take it seriously at first is at first glance, it didn't make that much sense to me. I mean, if you can't even supply the RTX 5090 for under $3,000 right now, why bother making a 5090 Ti or a Titan? And thirdly, I did send this leak, though, out to a bunch of my sources, or should I say alleged, leak, to a bunch of my sources, and a half of a dozen of them got back to me and said that they have heard nothing of it. In fact, some of them literally laughed when I said, "Do you think this rumor's true?" And so, well, I forgot about it for a while. And then a source messaged me. Well, I was on a Valentine's Day vacation, and so I actually didn't open it until a few days ago. But, well, the information this source has sent me, one of my longest running sources, was substantial enough that I did think it deserved to get a proper video made about it because, yes, apparently Nvidia is, or at least was, testing some sort of Titan or 5090 Ti, at least as of last year. And really, I guess this shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, after all, I already leaked that Nvidia played around with this idea of some super high wattage flagship with a 4000 series, enough playing around with it that I was able to get pictures of it and exclusively leak those. Pictures that have actually since been confirmed by Der Bauer. Also, if anybody thinks there isn't room to squeeze more performance out of GB202, yeah, it takes a lot of energy, but the die in the 5090, MSI proved that you can, sometimes squeezing double-digit performance gains over the base 5090 despite not adding any more CUDA cores nor adding faster memory. And so, yes, I think this thing is real, or at least was real in the labs, but will it come out? Well, I don't know. Titan Ada didn't come out. The 9080 XT so far hasn't come out. And also the RTX 50 Super Series so far has not come out. But I can make an argument for why it might. After thinking about it for a while, I actually can, I believe, lay out a very convincing narrative for what might be going on behind the scenes that would involve a very late to launch RTX 50 Super launch potentially, and a launch that also includes maybe a 5090 Ti or a Titan, and it is based on public information that is out there pointing to this argument I'm going to make for you. Also, I know the specs of one of the engineering samples, so you probably want to know that, don't you? And I will tell you it after an ad from a sponsor. A lot of people think VPNs are just about watching Netflix libraries from other countries, and sure, that can be part of it, but honestly, in my opinion, the bigger issue right now is that your internet activity is being logged, tracked, and in some cases literally sold by your ISP. Plus, if you're somebody like me, your work setup changes all the time, different networks, different locations, different devices. You should want consistency, and that is where ExpressVPN comes in. It is the sponsor of this piece of content, and it encrypts 100% of your internet traffic and routes it through secure servers. So your ISP, your Wi-Fi owner, and random third parties can't see what you're doing online. And then beyond that, it's also fast enough that you forget it's even on. They use premium servers and their own lightweight protocol, so you're not tanking your speeds just to stay private. And actually, the benefits go beyond privacy. It's also genuinely useful. You can change your online location across more than 100 countries to access region-locked content that you're paying for, but just can't usually access without a VPN. And furthermore, ExpressVPN has also been independently audited by firms like KPMG KPMG, and I do think that also matters for a privacy company, that they don't just say, trust us, bro, when they're trying to handle your privacy. And so if you care about online privacy, ExpressVPN is one of the simplest tools you can add. And so if you're interested, go to www.expressvpn.com/mooreslawsdead to find out how you can get 4 extra months. And by the way, even just clicking on that link to check it out is enough to do some support for me. So support Moore's Law is Dead by checking out ExpressVPN through the links below today. All right, before I make the argument for why this thing might actually come out, let me first tell you the information I was told about this engineering sample. So a source reached out to me, like I said, one of my longest running, most trusted sources in the past week, and said that they were able to confirm that the, in quotes, Blackwell tie-in was real, and actually that it had been in testing since at least the first half of 2025. Yes, a year ago. So to be clear, this person wanted to make sure that I knew that they don't know if it will launch, they don't know if the specs they were about to tell me would still be accurate, but that they had spoken with somebody who tested it last year and confirmed that, yep, it was based on a cut-down GB202 die, the same die that's currently in the 5090, but this time with 5% more CUDA cores than the RTX 5090. The standard TDP, it had some limit of around 700 to 750 watts, that it did stay around that limit. It did easily hold that much power. That was a limit. That wasn't the average. And we know that it could easily hit 750 watts because some of the unlocked prototypes that were tested could go well over 1,000 watts. Now, at the time, the performance was averaging around 10% faster than the RTX 5090, and this design they were testing was absolutely massive. The person always had to use 2 hands to move it around. They would never pick it up with a single hand. And that's about it. Based on recent benchmarks, this person thinks that, and by benchmarks I mean benchmarks of that MSI Lightning Z that goes to 1,000 watts, they bet that they could probably squeeze a bit more out of it. I mean, if you look at those benchmarks, you can see that in some games, they got to like 13% more performance than a base 5090, so that's with no extra CUDA cores or special binning. With special binning, possibly with faster memory and these extra CUDA cores, the source does believe they could potentially get to 15 to 20% more performance. But again, I'm not married to that number. The source isn't married to that number. That's just speculation of the maximum amount of performance they would likely be able to squeeze out of any 5090 Ti, which is to say, maybe up to around 20%. And again, I don't know if what I just showed you are the final specs of a 5090 Ti. I would kind of doubt they are, but maybe they are. I just don't know. This is from a year ago, but it does give you an idea of the type of a product they were working on. So a product that probably actually won't get the full GB202 die. It'll just be very, very slightly disabled, still leaving the best yields for their AI and professional customers. Again, not very surprising there. And the way they would get more performance is mostly just through pushing power consumption even more and binning better than the 5090. But anyways, why would Nvidia launch this thing? And better yet, if those rumors of a late 2026 launch are true, why then, right? Why late this year? Why not late last year? Or, never? I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of odd. On the one hand, MSI is selling something that's kind of trying to call itself a 5090 Ti for $5,090, and it is selling out at that price. So it would make sense to have launched this sooner, even if in low volume, rather than later. And when it comes to later, I mean, late 2026, that's probably a year before RDNA 5 launches with 3 nanometer. Maybe, who knows, like how soon a 1690 could launch right after that. I mean, I've already confirmed that a lot of my sources say that if NVIDIA wants to launch some next-gen 1690 on a better node than what they use right now, that it would be ready to launch late 2027. So this seems like a very late time to launch a new flagship when the follow-up generation is so close to then. But, all right. And here is where we go down the conspiracy hole. What if they are launching a 5090 Ti late 2026 because those 2028 rumors for the next generation are correct and they coincide with Intel Titan Lake? Yep, I'm about to go down a true conspiracy hole here that connects a bunch of seemingly unconnected dots and tries to make the argument for something crazy that could be going on at Nvidia and also at Intel. But before I do that, let me say this one more time. This is speculation. This is not me confirming that they are doing this. And even if I can make a convincing argument, because I think I will be about to do that, make an argument that is convincing, I wouldn't even say that I'm sure it's true or think that it is. This is just kind of like maybe this is what's going on, and we should look for evidence out there this year to support this, because it is quite a different situation than I think most people would be expecting if it plays out how I'm about to say. Anyways, though, let's stop dancing around it. All right, I'm going to ask you all, consider these following 5 points. All right, 5 points here. All right, point number 1. We know that Nvidia has practically ended RTX 50 series production due to running out of 4 nanometer capacity with TSMC for the AI contract. So they throttled gamer production to produce more AI chips for their AI customers. This is already a big problem, capacity at TSMC with Nvidia. Second, we also know that Nvidia is moving to 3 nanometer for Rubin AI products next year. All right. Third, we also know that Nvidia is making iGPU tiles for Intel in 2029, and those will allegedly be on 14A, according to other rumors I've seen out there. And that means that they will be making these Nvidia GPU tiles at Intel foundries. And then point number 4, we also know that AMD is definitely ready to launch RDNA 5 next year. They have publicly confirmed this. And point number 5, the 5090 is actually already 82% faster than the 9070 XT, so almost twice as fast. Okay, so let's put that all together. The capacity issues, the fact that Nvidia is moving their AI stuff to 3 nanometer next year, the fact that actually right after 2028, Nvidia will be using Intel foundries to make Nvidia products potentially, and 4, that before then though, AMD will have a stronger flagship, a flagship that could be 2.5 times faster than the 9070 XT, and that also actually the 5090 is already most of the way to twice as fast as a 9070 XT. Okay, so hear me out. Is there a chance that a 5090 Ti is being prepared to launch to preempt RDNA 5 because they don't want to launch the 6090 in time to fight RDNA 5 because they will be constrained by 3 nanometer and don't want to use it for their gaming products? Remember, Blackwell uses 4 nanometer capacity, not 3 nanometer, like their future super expensive AI chips. And next year, even if they don't manufacture gaming chips on 3 nanometer, Nvidia will still be competing at TSMC with production for the PS6, Xbox Magnus, Zen 6, and RDNA 5. That's already a huge issue for them. So is there a chance that Nvidia will want to do another generation or de facto generation, even if it's called a super series of 50, that is just basically overclocked Blackwell chips so they can hold off on pulling from the latest nodes for gaming products? I mean, come on, think about it. If the 5090 is, and it is, already 82% faster than the 9070 XT in 4K, and then they squeeze another 20% out of that, that gets you to about 2.2 times faster than the 9070 XT. That would probably get within a stone's throw of the RDNA 5 flagship, possibly even trade blows with it. And look, even if RDNA 5 managed to cleanly beat the 5090 Ti by like 20%, Nvidia could just say, hey, whatever, man, you beat our 1-year-old graphics card built on 3-year-old technology by a tiny bit, and at the end of the day, everyone just wants to use DLSS anyways. Once you factor in DLSS 4.5, or who knows, DLSS 5 by late next year, we are comfortable selling the 5090 Ti with 4 nanometer against AMD's 3 nanometer product because they're close enough, and with DLSS, it's actually better. In this scenario, I am suggesting that what Nvidia might do is launch a 5090 Ti first late this year to extend their performance crown, then launch a 50 Super Series in early 2027, and then coast on 4 nanometer production for their gaming stuff until 2028, when they would have Feynman being built on Intel's 14A architecture to entirely skip TSMC 3 and TSMC 2 nanometer for next-gen gaming chips so that none of that capacity is wasted on gamers from their perspective instead of used on AI. I mean, heck, maybe they didn't even pause RTX 50 production. Maybe they were winding down most of the upper end of the stack because they're about to refresh everything above the 5060 and then keep selling that from early 2027 until late 2028, almost 2 more years. Yes, making the 50 series maybe the longest run GPU series in Nvidia history. And honestly, I am actually curious what you guys think. Please tell me in the comments if you find this theory convincing. But do remember, it is just a theory. It is just speculation. Like if you're a journalist right now who's going to write an article about this leak today, please write it saying that the engineering sample, I'm sure that's real. That's right. And you can tell people about this theory because it is convincing and interesting and fun to talk about. But don't say that I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But I have to say, upon hearing myself say this out loud, it is pretty convincing, though, isn't it? I think we should keep our eyes open for more evidence to emerge that this is what Nvidia is doing because it would make a lot of sense from a business perspective. Unfortunately, for gamers who would like better than 4 nanometer from Nvidia sooner rather than later. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank ExpressVPN one more time for sponsoring it. Remember, you can get 4 months of ExpressVPN and support the channel if you go down and click on that link in the description below. And in addition to that, please consider, subscribe to Moore's Law is Dead on YouTube, ring the bell button, like I said, comment below, and share. Sharing these videos helps a ton. And also consider joining the Moore's Law is Dead Patreon. We have a new die shrink dropping tomorrow. It's actually an extra long one. Me and my co-host Dan had more to say than we expected about the worst names we've seen of gaming products, whether it's the Wii U or really half of the episode we talk about how nonsensical AMD's naming schemes have been lately. It's a really, really fun episode that I think will be a fan favorite. You get access to that just by doing the $2 tier. And even $1 tiers get access to a large catalog of essential die shrinks, the ability to ask guest questions. Higher tiers get other bonus content, access to a Discord, so on and so forth. Please support us on Patreon. It helps us stay as independent as possible. And for everybody else, well, if you made it this far into the video, as always, thank you for watching.